Hayes Davis wide open. Hayes Davis, if it goes, Hayes Davis!
The Euroleague is reaching its boiling point as we have just 4 rounds left in the regular season, and with each game more important than the other, we're about to witness some crazy action going down. Fenerbahce entered the game versus Paris as one of the worst first quarter teams, and unfortunately for them, this game didn't have a different beginning either. Paris' quick offense caught Fenerbahce unprepared as the home team jumped to the lead after the first 10 minutes of action.
Here's Ward in the open floor. Is he going to go coast to coast? He is!
Paris' second wave of attack came in the third quarter as they went 5 of 5 on their 3-pointers. This run spread the gap to 13 entering the fourth. However, that's when the fun truly began.
McCollum, quick 3 from him. It's good. Goodrich hesitated, but makes it.
Instead of going for the knockout, Paris allowed Eric McCollum and Marco Goodrich to spark Fenerbahce's offense and get the home team going. Once Fener started picking up the level of play, the Olkar Arena followed and we were up for a dramatic ending. The arena was roaring as Fener was coming back into this one. However, it all changed at the end on this play from TJ Shorts.
Eyeball to eyeball with Wade Baldwin. Here comes the double. Shorts. TJ Shorts lays it up and in!
This is Euroleague royalty behind me, and I'm always tuned in to every team with Euroleague TV. I can watch up to 4 games live or catch the replays anytime I want. And you can join me by clicking the link in the description and typing code HEATCHECK15 for 15% off your first year of subscription.
Fener made it all the way back just for TJ Shorts to give Paris the lead with 2 seconds left. But unfortunately for Paris though, TJ left a bit too much on the clock. And then the explosion.
Hayes Davis wide open. Hayes Davis, if it goes, Hayes Davis! Mukamil!
What a way to clinch a playoff spot as Fenerbahce becomes just the second team to lock their position for the postseason. A similar story was developing in Monaco as the La Roca were fighting to come back from a 7-point deficit with 6 minutes remaining. Once Žalgiris entered the bonus with 5.5 minutes to go, Monaco started going at them in the paint. However, Monaco's troubles continued as they couldn't hit their shots from the free throw line. But when trouble happens for this team, you know that there's one guy you can always count on to save the day.
And their smart decision making and composure. Mike James dancing with the dribble against Smilegic, pulls up and drills.
Mike James scored 7 points in the last 2 minutes to bring the game back to even. However, Žalgiris didn't hold back one bit as they countered Mike's points with some heroic buckets of their own as it all came down to the final possession.
Against his French national team counterpart, Elia Kobo pulls up from 3 off left, ball still live, and we are going to overtime.
Despite Monaco having the lead only one time during the 40 minutes of action, we go to overtime. And things were looking far different now though, as Žalgiris looked completely exhausted while Monaco seemed to have been encouraged by their fourth quarter heroics. Mike James and Elia Kobo combined for 12 points in overtime as Žalgiris couldn't find a way to contain them. And that's all she wrote for this one. Monaco got an important W while Žalgiris' chances for a playoff spot are getting smaller and smaller by the day. This works in Partizan's favor as the black and white desperately needed some flops from the other team after the 3 straight defeats they had suffered. But Partizan felt the pressure upon them as well as they couldn't buy a bucket to save their lives at the start of the game versus Alba. Good thing they played against Alba though, as any other team would mop the floor with an opponent playing like Partizan in the first quarter. Alba did manage to build a 20-13 lead though. However, as the second quarter went on, Partizan started to pick up their level of play as well. Brandon Davis showed his veteran leadership and was the one to step up in Partizan's times of struggle.
Over to Davies for 3, got it! But the steal, and Davies!
Instead of building upon the momentum from the finish of the first half, Partizan entered the third quarter struggling again. However, they didn't allow Alba to make a serious push for the comeback as they probably played their best defense in the second half, limiting Alba to just 15 points in the fourth, which allowed them to get the lifeline win.
Davies into the basket with the big dunk.
That's not all for round 31 though. Over in the Blaugrana, Barcelona enjoyed an 8-point lead with 3 minutes to go. However, the game couldn't have been further from decided. When all else failed for Bayern, their often questionable defense was the one that brought them back into the game. Bayern limited Barca to just 2 points in the last 3 minutes, with each stop being bigger than the other. And after Vladimir Lucic made his free throws to finally give Bayern the lead, it was time for the most important stop of the game.
Kevin Punter for the win. No,
And it's away by Lucic on the rebound, and Bayern win it.
A big-time win for Bayern as they continue their fight for a playoff spot. Barca are now splitting the 7th spot with Real after Madrid easily beat Milano in a game where they led throughout the entire 40 minutes. However, this victory has a bitter taste to it as Madrid failed to secure the double-digit lead that they had throughout the most of the game and are now actually behind Milano in the head-to-head matchup. This 7-point win won't be enough if it comes down to a tiebreaker as they lost to Milano by 9 in the first clash of the season. Not all teams have those types of worries though, at least not now. Take Olympiacos for example, as they just lost their 2nd straight game in a seemingly meaningless game against Asvel. However, that may not be the case if they continue to drop games, as Fenerbahce is now only 1 win behind them in the standings and actually has the tiebreaker in their favor. While Olympiacos' schedule is quite easier than Fener's, don't be surprised if we have a switch in the top 2 spots of the standings come playoff time.
Odekolo for 3, got it!
Wow, what a dramatic day in the Euroleague. There's certainly more of where that came from as we're reaching the regular season's boiling point. If you want to see the drama that happened in round 30, check out this video right here. That's it for now, talk to you in the next one. Peace out.